Severance, Season 2, Episode 2, and Episode 1.
She is alive!
Mark said she is alive. Suddenly, Mark turns off and Outie Mark wakes up. Outie Mark doesn't know anything what just happened. Everybody heard what he said, but they don't understand what he means. Rick thinks Mark is talking about the baby because they found the baby alive. But Devon notices Mark is holding the photo. Devon also notices that Mark has different facial expression. She guesses that is Outie Mark. Devon hugs him and says, "Are you okay?" Mark says, "Yes." Devon asks, "What's my name?" Mark replies, "Persephone." That confirms he is Outie. Mark found the picture in his hand. He is confused about it. Then we see Outie Helly. We call her Helena. She is upset with her Ini. Her father comes to her and says, "Fetid muppet." It means a small child with bad smell. He said that to Ini Helly, but that is Helena now. Helena says, "Father?" Then he realizes she is Helena and he walks out. We have a new character, Mr. Drummond. Drummond and Helena discuss that they need to send somebody to talk with Outies. They also need to find out what Ini Mark and Ini Irving did in the outside, who they talked to. Then we see Outie Dallon walking out from the building, but he doesn't know what happened in the office. Helena sends Milsik to see other Outies. Milsik asks, "Shall I fire them?" Helena says, "Let care guide your hand." It means he can do what he thinks right. Then she goes to see Miss Scoville. Helena thanks Scoville for acting so quickly. She says, "You saved us from disaster." Miss Scoville asks about James Egan, who is father of Helena. But Helena says he is not joining this conversation. She says, "We want you back in the job. You proved your loyalty." Scoville wants Helena to apologize because she was treated poorly. Helena says, "I apologize. My father and the board apologizes to you. I am sorry." Scoville accepts the apology. She says there is much damage to control. She says that she will interview Dallon about how he got access to the security office. But Helena says you can't go back to severed floor. We offer you a promotion for Severance Advisory Council. But Scoville doesn't want promotion. She says, "I should be running the severed floor." But Helena informs that Mr. Milsik has been promoted to floor manager. Scoville says, "You don't value me. You fear me." Helena says, "We fear no one. We value you. That's why we are making this generous offer." Scoville doesn't accept the offer yet. She says that she will think about it. After the meeting, Helena records a video message. She explains that she regrets about what she told in the event. She says she has too many drinks and wanted to do prank on people. "Whatever I told in the event was a joke. I said my Ini was being tortured, but it was a joke and a lie," she says. But we as audience knows that was truth. She explains that she thought it was funny, but people took it seriously. She says after the incident, she has been reminded that it's very serious things. She says she won't do this kind of joke again. Meanwhile, Mr. Milsik goes to see Outie Irving. Irving says he was in the room watching TV, but we know his Ini went to see Bart. When his Outie woke up, he was knocking the door of Bart's house, but now he says to Milsik that he is watching TV all the evening. So Outie Irving is working on something and he lied to Milsik. But now Milsik apologizes to Irving and he fired him. Irving is shocked for being fired. Milsik also goes to see Outie Dallon. He tells him that Dallon Inni was aggressive and he got into a fight with another person in the office. That's why Milsik came here to fire Dallon. Dallon is also shocked. He says, "What am I supposed to tell my wife?" It means he has 3 kids and a wife. He needs to find another job. Milsik says sorry and he goes to see Mark. Milsik is riding in a bike wearing very nice helmet. Then we see Rickens' house. Book reading session was not completed because baby disappeared for a while and Mrs. Selvig feared them all. Now all people went back to their home. Mark and Devon are talking. Devon already told Mark that his Ini woke up for some minutes and she talked with him. Devon trying to explain Mark that he said she is alive. But Rick shows up and says, "You were referencing the baby." Rick says Patton saved the baby. Patton is the person who claimed he found the baby, not Mark. Now Rick also knows that Mark was Ini for some time. He says, "Your workie was excited to see baby and he said she is alive." Mark also admits that he was referencing the baby. Devon wants to agree with both of them, but she's not sure about it because when he said she's alive, he was holding the picture. Rick is happy because Mark's Eni, he calls him Worky, read his book, and that book inspired him to come outside to alert people about what is going on in the job. Three of them are trying to figure out what is Eni exactly meant. Mark is sure that he was referencing the baby. They were talking about this, but Mr. Milchick came here to see Mark. He fired Irving and Dallin, but he didn't come here to fire Mark. He explains Mark about what happened tonight was the overtime contingency. Basically, Milchick is trying to show that Lumen Company is honest with their employee. Mark says that he didn't know about overtime contingency. Milchick says you can find it in your start paperwork. Milchick says Mark was here in this house for 39 minutes. Devon says, I know, I talked to him. Milchick asks, what did he say to you? If I tell you, are you gonna punish him, Harry? Milchick says, we have no punishment at Lumen. Devon is pissed off with Lumen for a lot of reasons. She says your manager was doing fraud with us. Milchick is being smart and says that they learned tonight that Covell is quite severely unwell. Her behavior at Lumen is the source of Mark's distress. But don't worry, she will never go back to that floor again. Then Milchick asks if there is anything they can tell him. Devon says we are tired tonight. Mark says, I think we have just said all there is to say. Actually, Mark doesn't want to talk with him because he is planning to quit the job. Devon doesn't want to tell him what Eni said because she knows Lumen Company is doing something wrong. Milchick says to Mark, I hope to see you Monday. Mark replies, yeah, I don't know, man. Then Milchick returns to Lumen building. Helena is still in the building. She is watching CCTV footages of today's work, what they did and what they talked about. She just found that her Heli kissed Mark. She is very surprised to see it, and she doesn't feel good about it. Mark also went back to his house. He knocks the door of Covell, but nobody answers. Devon already told Mark that Mrs. Selvig was spying on him and she is a fraud. Next day, Devon calls Mark to a dinner. Devon wants to find out a way to confirm what Mark really meant by she is alive. But Mark says he's quitting the job. He says, you always tried to convince me to quit the job and now I am finally quitting. I'm gonna tell them tonight. Devon says, but don't you think it was strange? Why was he so curious? Mark says he identified her. He saw her body. So he saw her body, that's why he is sure about her date. Devon knows that Mark is right, but she also wants confirmation about it. Then it will not continue to haunt. This conversation turns into a big argument and Mark walks out of the diner. Then we see Mr. Drummond is spying on them, hearing what they are talking about. Dallin immediately goes to a different company for job interview, but he didn't get the job because he was severed man. This company doesn't like severed people. Dallin thinks this is discrimination, but he can't do anything, so he returns to home. His wife calls him and says you will get next job. Then we see Irving at the payphone place. Actually, Severance world is different. They use old types of computers and they have payphones in this area. Irving calls to somebody we don't know. They don't pick up the phone and he sends a voice message. He says, I want you to know that my Eni got the message. What is he talking about? Is he working with Reghavi? Maybe Audi Irving and Reghavi wants to send Enis to the checking floor where they can find Miss Casey. That's why he painted a lot of pictures of the dark hallway that goes to the checking floor. But that is my theory. We will learn more later. Meanwhile, we see Audi Bird is watching him from behind, but Irving doesn't notice him. At the evening, Milchick came to see Mark again. This time he brought a pineapple. He is here to convince him to not quit the job. He says, Mr. Scout, I know you are still weighing whether to return to Lumen, but your Eni wants to return. You will have 20% pay raise. Your Eni gets regular wellness check. Your Eni is happy at work. He doesn't know anything about the pain. He cares for people. He is funny and he has found a love. that was enough to convince him to return to job. Mark returns to the job and we see Helena, Milchick, Drummond, and Natalie discussing about new team members of MDR department. Because Milchick fired others and they need to find new employees. Milchick says that he got a floater from overseas and a pair who were laid off from a different branch called 5X. Drummond seems like he doesn't like 5X. Milchick says he had no time for others and he hoped there will be some chemistry. Helena says we don't need chemistry, we need Mark back to work to complete Cold Harbor. What is Cold Harbor? It might be a project they are working on. We will learn about Cold Harbor in upcoming episodes. Audi Mark comes back to work and his innie wakes up. Suddenly he runs to find Miss Casey because he just learned that she is his wife in the outside world. His Audi is sure about her date, but she is alive. Mark runs a lot, but he doesn't find wellness department or Miss Casey. Then he goes to MDR office. His old team members are gone and there are new people here. Mark is very confused. Milchick comes here and says, "Welcome back, Mark S. Been a minute." He gives him balloons and those balloons has faces of Mark. He takes him to the management office to explain what happened to his old team members. In the way, Mark is asking a lot of questions. Milchick tells him a lie. What you all did 5 months ago was one of the most painful moments in the history of this company. He said 5 months ago, but we saw it has been only 3 days. Mark is shocked knowing he didn't came to work for 5 months. Then Milchick introduces him to a new character, Miss Huang. She is just a child, but she is working here. She replaced Milchick and Milchick replaced Cobell. Milchick is new manager now. Mark asks, "What is happening?" Milchick says, "Miss Cobell is no longer with this company. Now I manage the severed floor." Mark asks, "What about my team?" Milchick tells another lie. He says, "We didn't fire them. Haley and Irving both successfully made contact with persons on the outside." Dylan's Audi learned what happened in the office. That is also a lie. He didn't know it. He tells another lie that you four have achieved international fame. He shows fake newspaper of 4 of them becoming hero in the outside. Milchick says he regrets about locking them in a room like an animal. He blames Miss Cobell for everything. Mark asks why Miss Cobell was in my sister's house. Milchick says she had developed an erotic fixation on you and had plans to pursue both you and your Audi. But thankfully she failed on her plans. Mark asks, "Why don't you tell me where my team is?" Milchick says, "We tried to get them back to work, but none of them agreed except you. Actually, your Audi begged us to let him back right away." Oh my god. Milchick is telling a lot of lies without any hesitation. Mark wants to hear from themselves if they really left the job. Milchick says that is not possible and he sends him to work. Then Mark talks with the new team member, but he doesn't like them at all. Miss Huang comes in with a ball. They are going to play the game for team building exercise. Miss Huang says it is her first day here as deputy manager. Old man Mark W. His name is also Mark, but he has Mark W. He asks, "Why are you a child?" She replies, "Because of when I was born." Mark gets the ball and he's supposed to express his feelings. He is thinking about Miss Casey and his old friend, but doesn't tell them what he's thinking. He tells them that he is lucky to make 4 new friends. But Miss Huang reminds him that she is not his friend. She is his supervisor. Mark corrects himself and says 3 new friends. Mark is still the chief of departments. Next day, Gwendolyn asks a lot of questions to Mark. What did you see in the outside? Did you see sky? How is perpetuity wing? Do the eagles move? She talks a lot and Mark doesn't want to talk with her. At the end, Italian man and Gwendolyn left for the day. Mark was also leaving, but Mark W tells him that his old team was a bunch of dirtbags. They never hit quota, not once. That's why his branch was shut down. That's why Mr. Drummond didn't like them. If they hit the quota 100%, they get waffle party like Dylan. Mark wrote a note in the name of Mark W to Audi of Mark W and he put it in the code of Mark W. Next day morning, he comes back to work. He finds out Milchick is here, but Milchick knows Mark W didn't wrote that note. He recognizes the handwriting of Mark. Mark wanted to kick out Mark W from the team. Everyone knows what Mark did, and they don't like it. Mark says, I don't even know who this team is. I told you I want my team. Why don't you understand? After this, Milsik revoked his status as department chief, and he make Mark W the new department chief. Then Mark distracts them all. He runs out and goes to the management office. Miss Huang says, hey, you don't supposed to be here. Mark finds the speaker to talk with the board. He tells the board that he needs to see his old team. They are my friends. You can't just make them disappear. Milsik comes here and cuts the line. Milsik sends Mark to his house, not office. Mark asks, are you fighting me? Milsik doesn't answer and says, goodbye, Mark, yes. Then we see Helena is listening what Ini Mark said. He wants his team. Mr. Rumond says that the board is gonna give him what he wants, including Heli R. It means Heli R and the team is going back to the job. Then Milsik goes to see Irving and Dalen's house to call them back. Next day morning, Mark was coming to job, but he sees an old man is angry with Lumen because he fired his Mark W. Any Mark finds that Dalen came to work, and then Irving comes knocking the elevator, calling the board because he was calling the board when he shut down before. Elevator opens and he finds himself in Lumen. He thought board is gonna open the door. Irving doesn't say anything and he walks to the office. Then Dalen also walks to the office, but Mark is looking for Heli to come out. Heli comes out breathing heavily. Mark hugs her. Heli seems like she is hesitating to hug, but they ask each other what happened. Mark says it has been 5 months, maybe more, but we know it has been only 6 days. Irving is in the bathroom. He says he needs more time. He is very sad because he couldn't talk to Bot. Dalen is asking Mark and Heli, what did you guys see out there? Mark doesn't tell them because he thinks people might be listening what they are talking about. Heli checks around and says, where the security camera go? They think Milsik is gonna come here soon, but Miss Huang comes out and says, Mr. Milsik is waiting for you all in the break room. So he called them all in the break room. Dalen asks Mark, what is going on? Why is he like 8? Mark says, I don't know. Milsik welcomes back them all. Break room looks different now. Milsik wants to show them a video. This video will be shown to every Ini who sets foot in this building after today. Keanu Reeves did voiceover in this video. He's talking as Lumen building. This building says that it loves all workers, both unsevered and severed. Building says that they have branches in 206 countries. All branches have severed floor. Video tells the story about how this 4 severed employee became rebel and hero to the people. Building doesn't call them macro data refinement, but it calls them macro data uprising. Video says they didn't destroy the company, but they helped to make it better. Video also explains that they found love in work, and they saw the animation Heli and Mark kissing. Dalen is surprised because he didn't know they had kissed. He says, what the see? Building says that the building is thankful to Kier Egon to having 4 of them in this building. Milsik tells them that he respects all of them. He doesn't want to be their jailer. He says Lumen respects their privacy. From today, the rest of the severed floor and the break room has no cameras and microphones. That is unbelievable. He also informs that Lumen company made a different rule. By end of the day, each of you will choose whether you want to remain here, not your Audis, but you. I truly hope you all will choose to stay and enjoy what you helped build. It will be a fresh start for all of us. And then Mr. Milsik and Miss Huang leaves the break room. Then refiners start talking about what they saw in the outside. Heli says that Milsik said there's no microphone and camera here. But Dalen doesn't trust Milsik and tells them to whisper it. And then Mark tells them what he saw. He says he was in his sister's house and the book writer Ricken is his brother-in-law. And Kobil was there. He also tells them that Miss Casey is his Audi's wife, but he thinks she is dead. That's why he came to work in Lomond. Then everybody is surprised that Miss Casey is his wife. He says he went to wellness department to see Miss Casey, but the place is gone. Then Mark asks Haley, what did you see? But Haley tells a lot of lies. She says she found herself in a boarding apartment. She lives there alone. She was watching nature show on TV. She says she went outside and found a man looks like a gardener, and she told him everything. Irving asks, a gardener at night? She says, yeah, I think maybe he has a different job during the day. So why Haley is lying? Because she might be outie. She came here as undercover. Her Eni Haley ruined everything, her plans. Maybe she doesn't want her Eni to wake up again. Then they ask Irving, what did you see? Irving doesn't answer the question, but he wants to leave because Milchick said you can leave if you want to. Helena asks again, what did you see? Irving says it's not our world up there. That is what I saw. He doesn't explain further. Then Irving walks out and Dalen chases after him. Mark and Haley feels a little bit awkward, but they talk about Miss Casey. Mark says she's my wife, so I gotta get her out of here. Haley says she will help, but she also says that she is not your wife. She is your Audie's wife, and we doesn't owe anything to our Audies. But Miss Casey is one of us, so I will help you to help Miss Casey. Irving tells to Dalen that he failed the mission and he went to see Bart. He is married with someone. I saw them through the window. I should be happy. He is happy. Irving is ready to leave the job and he hugs Dalen. He whispers in his ears and says that his Audi painted a lot of pictures. They are all same. They looks like a dark hallway. They are darker than the back room. They had an elevator, so they are different hallway. I wanted you to know it before I leave. Then he tries to leave, but Dalen stops him and says, I will be sad if you go. If Bart was still here, he would be telling you to stick around and figure out what the fuck this is. Suddenly, Miss Huang comes here and says, Mr. Milchick wants to see Dalen. And Dalen goes to see Milchick. Cobell was the office manager, so there's still name of Miss Cobell. Milchick calls someone and tell them to change the name. It should be Mr. Milchick. He also spells his name. Dalen comes here. Milchick says, your wife's name is Gretchen. She wanted you to know. Milchick also tells him that there will be family visitation, especially only for him, because he is the only one who has children out there. Milchick tells him to not tell to the others about this. If they know about the family visitation, then they will turn against Dalen. Then Dalen returns to the office and we see Irving also return to the office, 4 of them back together in the job again. There is still Miss Cobell's name in the screen. Milchick is upset and he turns it off. Miss Huang plays a game, indicates child behavior. Mark sees Miss Casey's face in his screen, but then we see Audie Mark return to his house. He finds Cobell is here, but she is leaving the house. Mark tries to ask some questions, but she doesn't want to answer anything. She gets in the car and tries to leave, but Mark stops her way and asks, what is this all about? I trusted you. Why did you do this to me? Do you know something about Gemma? Cobell doesn't answer anything, but her eyes tell him that she knows something. Cobell screams, slamming the horn, and she drives, almost hitting him. And that was the ending of Season 2, Episode 2. We don't know where Cobell is going. We don't know if she accepted the promotion offer or not. Why there was face of Miss Casey in the screen of Mark. We will learn them in upcoming episodes. You can check my Season 1 explanation. I have no subscribers and no viewership. But if you are watching this, please subscribe my channel. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.